So we have a scenario here for question 4, which is about two different types of jobs, least stressful and most stressful, with their salaries. And they give us these graphs relating to that. And the first one is asking us to identify another type of graph that could be used to display the stressful jobs' salaries. So specifically, just if we look at our graphs that we've been given, we're talking about the second graph over here, the most stressful one. How else could we display the starter? And with that, I would have accepted if you had said a pie chart, although more correct and more preferred would have been to say a bar graph. So that's really what we're looking for that. Then they said identify from the graph two jobs that deal with health issues. So if you look at the jobs that deal with health issues, going along at our base over here, surgeon would have definitely been one of them. And then the other one would have been a biomedical engineer. And the hint being that they use the word medical in the state. So you could say that. All right. At a bit of a extension, I would also accept if you had said optometrist, because they do relate to the health of the eyes, but it's not as correct of an answer as the other two. So surgeon and biomedical engineer is what we're looking for. Then 4.1.3 asks you to determine the probability as a percentage of randomly selecting an employee whose salary is more than $70,000. So again, we need to look at our graph and see how many employees earn a salary above that amount. So when we go to our graph and we look and we see, okay, how many do we have? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. None more there. And then on this one, I've got another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I count 12 who are more, and therefore 12 out of a total of how many employees, because we're talking about selecting out of the employees being our population pool. And if you count your way along the employees, I just have to kind of add in the other ones, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 down here at the bottom. Okay, please note, just because that is a 0, it is still a data point, so you still have to count it as a data point. So therefore, our answer would be 12 out of 20. That would be the answer if it was 12 out of 20. That would be the answer if it was as a percentage, as a fraction. But given that they want it as a percentage, I'm just going to multiply by 100 to get to a final answer. And that will give me 60%. Okay, and remember, it's quite important you do show that percentage sign in your final answer. This question was probably out of quite a few marks. They wouldn't always give that out of so many marks. But yeah, the place that they've given the marks on this is for the correct 20, for the correct 12, for the method, and for the answer. Typically, we would probably give that out of maybe 3, not 4, and remove the method for the percentage mark there. Okay, then we have 4.1.4, convert the highest salary on the least stressful job to the nearest millions of rands, given that $1 is 18 Rand 42. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go and look at our least stressful jobs. So just take off all of that. If I go to my least stressful job, and they wanted the highest paid least stressful job, and that was this one in the corner over here. It was the optometrist, which was 106,960. So now we need to go and convert it. So 106,950, and then to convert it, so 960, we're going to need to multiply it by 18,42 to make it into rands. Okay, you can also use it as a ratio if you prefer to. Instead of thinking of this as just a straightforward calculation, you can say $1 is to 18 Rand. Imagine it as a ratio. if I have $106,960, I want to know how many rands is it going to be. And therefore, divide by 1, multiply by 18,42. Okay, both methods work perfectly fine. It's up to you what one you want to go with. And then when you convert that, I get to 1,970,203 rand and 20 cents. And notice I leave the 0 on the end because it is money, so it should have 2 decimal places. But there's another important thing to notice in this question, which is specifically that they tell us to the nearest million. So that means we need to round off our answer. And if I round off that answer to the nearest million, I'm going to get to 2 million rand. And you just write your 2 million as your final answer there. Okay. Just a note here, you must show these in-between steps. If you just write the 2 million and nothing else, you will get 1 out of the 4 marks. Show all of the in-between steps as well for that one. Alright, then we come to 4.2, which is the story about Ivan with his home insurance calculation. They give us an extract of his statement here. And the first thing they ask us is to write down the premium amount, including that, in cents. Give your final answer in words. So that tells us we need to do 2 things. First, we need to convert to cents. And then after that, we need to write it in words. So if I'm going to convert this to cents, I'm going to go and look. Total premium amount, including of that, is this 5,309 rand and 21 cents. And to change that into cents, I'm just going to multiply it by 100. Okay, remember 100 cents in a rand. So therefore, it should be 530,921 cents. And then you would write it in words exactly as you would say it. So it would be 530,921 cents. So I'll say it again, 530,921 cents. And you write it exactly as I said it there. Right. Then 4.2.2 asks us to express the administration fee as a percentage of the total premium, including VAT. So the first thing we needed to do is find out what was the administration fee, including VAT. Now, realistically, if you think about this, and if we look at this question over here, the administration fee, to find out this total amount here, they would have said, what was your subtotal plus your admin fee will give you your VAT, your total. But there's a small problem here because the subtotal excludes VAT and the total includes VAT. So that means that before I can do anything, I need to get this to be the subtotal with the VAT. And once I have the subtotal with the VAT, then I can subtract to see what's the missing amount that goes in the admin fee. Okay, this whole including, excluding becomes quite important in this scenario. So to find out how much this would be with VAT, I'm just going to go with this multiplied by 1,15. You could also say plus 15% of the 4,000 rand. That will get me to a value of 5,209 rand and 34 cents. It would actually be 334, but then we can round it to 2 decimal places. And then to find the difference between them, to work out what is our missing admin fee, I would just go and take this 5,309 and subtract the 5,209,34 and get to a total of 99,87. So that is my admin fee as in rands. But they also say they want us to express it as a percentage of the total premium. So to express this as a percentage of the total premium, it means I want to say this out of the 5,309,21. And so basically I'm just going to write it as a fraction. And then from the fraction, I can go and multiply this by 100 to get to a percentage. And the percentage is going to give me 1,88 percentage. Okay, so that was 4.2.2. Then if we go back to 4.2.3, it says determine the monthly premium to the nearest rand that Ivan is going to pay. So if this is an annual premium, and by the way, I know it's annual because I'm seeing at the top here, it tells me here, annual premium. So I need to make it into a monthly premium. And all that I'm going to do that is take the annual, which was 5309.21, and divide it by 12. And if you divide that by 12, you're going to get to 442.43 cents. But the other important thing to notice here in the question is that it does tell us to the nearest rand. So therefore, I need to round my answer. I always show unrounded first, but afterwards I'm going to say that is approximately 442 rand as a final answer over there. Right, and then our last question here says to determine the total VAT amount that was paid on the policy. So this is just working backwards with VAT. So all that we're going to do is say, well, if I know what my total is, the 5,309 rand and 21 cents, I can divide by 1,15 to work out what is the price without VAT, which is 4,616.70. And then I can go and say, well, if I know what it is with VAT, the 5,309.21, take away what it is without VAT, the 4,616.70, I will get to 692.51. The other way you could have done it is, instead of working backwards from the total with VAT, you could have said, well, look, I know what it is without VAT over there, which is 4,529 rand. And then you're going to need to multiply it by 15% and add. The only thing to remember with this one, though, is if you're doing that, you also need to go back to the administration fee that you calculated previously. And you're going to need to work out how much VAT is on that question as well. So you'd have to say, okay, well, I know what my admin fee was, the 442 rand. And, sorry, not the 442 rand. The admin fee was 99 rand and 87 cents. Work back the VAT on that. So divide by 1,15. And then you can add it to your VAT that is calculated onto the subtotal as well. So it is a bit of a longer way to do it if you're going to try and work with this subtotal excluding VAT, because you do need to take into account this VAT and the admin fee as well. The more straightforward way is to say, well, look, they're talking about total. They're saying total. I'm therefore going to go and look at my total and then just work back the VAT. Okay. That is the end of week 3's additional practice. Remember, chat to your teachers if there's something in this that you're not sure about.